Welcome back to the Combat Chit Chat Show, and today we have huge upcoming fight announcements to discuss. And one of those is about the lightweight division, which is finally getting on its wheels and making movement. The division that was once the most glorious, most prestigious division in the entire roster that recently had come to a standstill is finally making a move. We have Illia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje in the works, potentially headlining the first ever Paramount pay-per-view card in January 2026 in Los Angeles, California. And as a hardcore MMA fan, this is a huge disappointment for me. We have Justin Gaethje, who is literally being rewarded for bad behavior. Now, look, I'm a fan of Justin Gaethje, like most of us are, right? You know, he's one of the most exciting fighters in lightweight history. But at the end of the day, the truth must be told. This isn't WWE. This is a real sport. Well, it's supposed to be anyways. And Justin Gaethje is literally on one win. Not winning streak. Notice where I didn't say winning streak. He's on one win. Because 2 fights ago, he literally got absolutely decimated and annihilated by Max Holloway in a 5-round beatdown for the BMF title. And then at the end of the 5th round, 1 second buzz beater gets clipped by an over right hand by Max Holloway and absolutely gets flatlined. He then comes back and is scheduled to fight Dan Hooker, which, by the way, is, that is very much a competitive fight. Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. Everyone was excited for that fight, right? Both are excellent strikers. Both are very durable, very well experienced. Colby Covington, right, who had fought Jorge Masvidal, had beaten him convincingly over 5 rounds, then went completely ghost, right? Colby went completely ghost, and he was completely inactive after that win. He hadn't fought anyone. Anyone that UFC had offered him, he flat out rejected. Bilal Muhammad had challenged him numerous times. Colby rejected that fight. And then you got Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for the 3rd time, squaring off in London in the O2 Arena to complete their trilogy. Colby weighs in as a backup fighter. He weighed in as a backup fighter, whilst you have Bilal Muhammad, who was the #1 contender. And then what happened? They literally rewarded Colby Covington the title fight. Leon had beaten Kamaru in the trilogy, and they gave the fight to Colby rather than giving it to Bilal. What was worse than this, more of a shameful event that had happened in UFC, was Stipe Miocic, right, who hadn't fought in 4 years. The last time he fought was against Francis Ngannou back in 2020 during the COVID. Gets sparked and flatlined in the 2nd round. Comes back, hadn't fought in 4 years, comes back and fights John Jones for the heavyweight title. When you have Tom Aspinall, listen to this, you had Tom Aspinall, the interim champion in the heavyweight division, the interim champion should be fighting the undisputed champion to unify the title, right? They made they shoved Tom Aspinall to the side, and they had made him fight Curtis Blades and made him defend his interim title. For the first time in UFC history, an interim champion had to defend their interim title just because of John Jones' star power. John Jones was too scared to fight Tom Aspinall. He wanted Stipe Miocic on his resume, and yeah. So why is Topuria being treated any different? Is it because he's not a big star? Well, then if that's the case, then UFC isn't really a sport, is it? You're not really representing a real sport where the best fight the best. But anyways, there will be fans that will say otherwise, and they will say no. Tsaruykan has been inactive. He hasn't showed up to work in 17 months, which is very true. Also, you can't argue with that. So now we have Tsaruykan booked to fight number 8 lightweight in the world, Dan Hooker, um, which is a very good fight. Hooker can pull this off. He's very experienced, and he's beaten wrestlers before, like Matus Gamrot, who also is fighting Charles Oliveira this Saturday, headlining the Brazil card, because Fiziev had pulled out. Gamrot stepped in, short notice, takes it on 2 weeks' notice. Now, what happens with these fights? How does it play out? If Charles wins, which I believe he will, he he shouldn't get the title shot because he had just his last fight was against the champion, was not competitive, got brutally KO'd. So I think Charles would have to work his way back up. He'd have to go on like a 3-4 win streak if UFC decide to keep it a real sport. Charles is a big name. They might just give it to him from one win. But if they decide to keep it a real sport, Charles will have to string along a 3-4 win streak. That too against top contenders. So if Gamrot wins, I don't think Gamrot should get the title shot either. Tsaruykan and Dan Hooker, if they fight, I believe the winner. Well, if Tsaruykan wins, how can you deny him any further? I mean, now he's made himself undeniable. He's literally beaten most of the top guys in the lightweight division. Some of the best guys. And Dan Hooker is a veteran, very experienced. A win over Dan Hooker, alongside with everyone else that Arman has beaten, I think that's justifiable. Like that's you can justify that fight. And as for Topuria, back to Topuria and Gaethje. Look, even Masvidal, who is a friend of Illia Topuria and have trained together, Masvidal is commenting saying 0 cents. But anyways, Topuria is now a big star. He's obviously scared of Tsaruykan. He doesn't want to take the risk. UFC also don't want to risk the Tsaruykan Topuria fight. It works in their favor if Topuria stays the champion. And so Topuria does have some say into this. And Justin Gaethje is a tailor-made fight for Illia Topuria. Like stylistically, Gaethje's there to be hit. I think Gaethje, the way Max knocked him out, he will get knocked out the same way. But it won't be over a course of 5 rounds. I think Ilya catches him very early. First, second round, I don't think it gets past round 2. As for Gaethje, I mean, is it a winnable fight for him? Well, let's look at this. Gaethje does have power, that's for sure. He has power. if Topuria was to get hurt, let's just say supposedly Topuria got hurt by Gaethje on the feet. Can Topuria uh start wrestling Gaethje? I don't think so. Gaethje's takedown defense is on point. He's very hard to take down, and if Topuria takes him down, can he control him there? Because Gaethje's got amazing scrambling ability. So you know, there is a world where Gaethje can catch Topuria, hurt him, finish the fight. That world does seem very, very far away in 2025. Gaethje is what now? 36. His calf kicks don't even work anymore. Look at his last few fights. Like, how effective has Gaethje's calf kicks been? That's like his bread and butter, right? He fought Max Holloway up until the last second of the fifth round, and Gaethje was just eating those calf kicks and carried on moving forward. Didn't really significantly affect his footwork. I mean, Gaethje was hurt. Max Holloway was hurt, but still done what he did. He fought for Zeev, threw a few calf kicks. Gaethje doesn't even throw the calf kicks as much as before as well, because people are almost anticipating that from him like every 5 seconds. So they're timing him with the two, you know? And Topuria will time him with one of those calf kicks. And Gaethje and his team are very well aware. He's got a very good coach, Trevor Whitman. You know, they know that Topuria will try to catch him and time him with a straight two. But yeah, but I'm just gonna try and enjoy this. You know, one thing we can say for sure, this fight will be exciting. As long as it lasts, there's gonna be a lot of big shots being thrown from both ends. Someone's getting hurt. That someone most probably is going to be Justin Gaethje. But Justin Gaethje will not shy away from a brawl. He will not shy away from a fight. He won't fear Topuria's power. He's just gonna go there with a kill or be killed mentality. That's the type of guy Gaethje is. That's why he's got so many fans, and it will be exciting. That's for sure. Moving on. Now that Illia and Gaethje are most probably booked for January, Tsaruykan and Dan Hooker are booked also. Oliveira and Matthews Gamrot are booked for this Saturday. That's the top 6 lightweight fighters in the world that are booked, which only leaves 2 people in the top 10 of the lightweight division, and that is Max Holloway and Paddy Pimblett. And there's rumors that they are also being targeted for March 2026. And out of those 3 fights out of all those fights that I have mentioned, Topuria Gaethje, Gamrot Oliveira, Hooker Tsaruykan, the fight that makes probably the most sense is Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett. Think about it. Max has shown that he is a legit problem in the lightweight division. He's gone up in weight. He's fought Max, absolutely bullied him, sparked him, laid him out flat, almost killed him. He fought Dustin Poirier. He didn't knock out Poirier, but he hurt Poirier several times in that fight. Arguably won every round. Outclasses Poirier, one of the best strikers in lightweight history. And Max's power is different at 155. He hits a lot more harder. You can see the effects, not just from the Gaethje fight, but even the fight that he had with Poirier, right, earlier this year. He was hurting Poirier and wobbling him multiple times in that fight. And there is a fan base where they would like to see Max Holloway versus Illia Topuria for the lightweight title at 155, where they feel like Max can show a lot more durability and a lot more power in his hands. To be honest, there was a time where Max versus Dan Hooker was in talks. That would have been super exciting also. Striker versus striker. Max versus Oliveira was in the talks. That would have been very exciting. Max versus Fiziev would also be interesting. Max versus anyone in the top 10 would be interesting. Paddy is a grappler. Um, Paddy will pay the price if he tries to stand and bang with Max. There's no way he's going to win that battle. There's absolutely no chance. Um, as for um, Max, as for Pimblett, obviously he's shown his grappling abilities. He will try to wrestle with Max. Max has shown takedown defense that has held up for him at lightweight division. So this fight is very interesting. The winner, if Tsaruykan goes and beats Dan Hooker and he fights Ilya for the title next, then the winner of Paddy, Pimblett, and Max Holloway, in my opinion, should be challenging for the title after that. But if Dan Hooker wins, maybe Max, maybe the winner of Max and Pimblett can jump the queue and fight Ilya next for the title. Or Gaethje, depending on who wins. So yeah, that'll be very interesting. Moving on, we've got Alex Pereira, who's coming off one of his most historic wins as he claims the light heavyweight title for the second time in his career, finishing Magomed Ankalaev last weekend, and is back being the king of the division, has officially challenged Jon Jones, who is considered by many the greatest of all time, to fight at the White House. And this has spiked a lot of discussions in the MMA world. And obviously, you may have all heard Jon Jones's older brother Arthur Jones has passed away. So the Jones family are currently in mourning right now. So there hasn't been any comments from Jon Jones. He hasn't been responding to anyone in his social media. So we yet await to hear from Jon Jones. But we know where this is going. I mean, Jones has been asking for this Pereira fight for a very long time. After Jones had defeated Stipe Miocic, he had expressed interest in fighting Alex Pereira over Tom Aspinall. Because in reality, we know that he's cherry picking his opponent. He knows Pereira is the easier fighter, stylistically. And this may actually happen. I mean, Dana White did say that he no longer wants to entertain Jon Jones. He doesn't have any faith in him. He doesn't want Jon Jones at the White House. He wants Conor McGregor to headline the White House card. Conor's all over the place. We already know with all his personal problems that he's got. At this point, Jones might actually be more reliable than Conor McGregor. So, if that's the case, Dana was talking about him wanting to assemble the greatest UFC event ever in history, the greatest card, the most stacked card. And if Conor isn't fighting, the next biggest name in UFC is Jon Jones. So you're going to have to get Jon Jones headlining the card against Alex Pereira, who's also a big name in the company too. Personally, I don't think Jon Jones deserves it. He doesn't deserve such a big profile fight after the way he wasted almost 2 years of Tom Aspinall's career and the UFC's time, he cherry picked his opponents and didn't live up to his word and just left and retired. So he should just stay retired. It's not fair that he's getting all these opportunities. There's actually fighters out there who are actually putting in the work. Personally, I think if Tom Aspinall runs through Cyril Gane, give that fight to Tom Aspinall. Get Tom Aspinall versus Pereira to headline the White House. It's only fair. It's only fair. Does Pereira deserve a crack at a higher weight division for the heavyweight division? Yeah. I mean, if Gane loses, then there's no one really at heavyweight that have separated themselves from the pack to say, oh, I'm number one, I should be fighting the winner of Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane next. And Pereira has done a lot for the company, has taken many short notice fights, is a big name. They need big names to headline the card. So make it Tom Aspinall. Make it Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira for the heavyweight strap, provided that Aspinall beats Cyril Gane. If Aspinall loses, then they'll most probably go with that John Jones and Alex Pereira option. But if Alex Pereira and John Jones were to fight, what weight do they fight at? Alex Pereira is a current champion. Will John Jones be willing to come back to light heavyweight to fight and compete at 205? I don't think so. I think he's comfortable at heavyweight. He's eating good. I don't think at the age of 38 now he'd want to go on a diet and kill himself to make light heavyweight. Yeah, and also if they don't fight at 205 and they fight at some catch weight, whilst Alex Pereira is the champion, and you've got Ulberg, who's got a claim to fight for the light heavyweight strap next, then how is that fair? Once again, that's just a gimmick fight. Do you know what I mean? There's so many things that need to fall in place to have John Jones versus Alex Pereira fighting at the White House. But anyways, that's all for today. Guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the 3 fights that I have mentioned. Topuria versus Gaethje, Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett, and John Jones versus Alex Pereira. Take care.